Welcome to the Soul Touched by Dogs podcast, the show for dog lovers who see dogs not as toys or tools, but wise souls worth our respect and care. I'm Anke Herman, and I'm your host. I talk to awesome humans, people who do great work for dogs and their people. So come and join us for today's conversation. Hello and welcome, Adam. I'm delighted to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much, Anka. Appreciate you having me today.
Well, I think we are in for a treat today. I really, really look forward to this conversation. And I guess on Zoom you can't tell, but I'm kind of so distracted by these cute faces behind you. So let's just fill people in. Where in this lovely world are you based, and what's your business with dogs?
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for having me. It's truly, truly a privilege. Furlanthropy, we are a brand new charity. We began about 2 years ago, actually 2 years ago this month. It took 2 years to get the charity formed. And then 2 years ago, we started our what we call a soft opening. And so for the past 2 years, we've been helping pets across the country. We're based here in Virginia, where I live, but we are 100% virtual. And we have our team is across the country, our boards across the country. But it's quite a journey, quite a story how we got here. A very unlikely journey that I'd love to share with your listeners today.
I can't wait. I can't wait. I mean, philanthropy, that's like so cute.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
It's like, who can take credit for that name? Like, that is super cute.
Aw. Well, so it all begins with my wife and I, we met and married about 5 years ago and blended our families together. And I had a cat named Kobe who sadly passed away, went onto the Rainbow Bridge. And my wife, she had a dog, Poochie, who passed away as well. And so we had 5 teenagers, so plenty of activity in the Spencer home. But my wife said those fateful words, honey, I think we need a dog. And so I said, the most reasonable, logical thing that came to my mind, which was absolutely not. I don't want a dog. And the truth is, and I know your listeners right now are probably not happy with me, but there's a happy ending. The truth is, I had a dog named Sterling as a child, but for whatever reason, over the last 35 years, I just became afraid of dogs. And I had no idea what I was missing out on. So this incredible story, incredible journey with a lot of arm twisting and being newlywed, I wanted to say yes, of course, honey, whatever you want. She said, well, let's just go just to look. So sure, what harm could be happen there, right? So we go down the local humane society, and as you can imagine, we walk down the hallway of these rows of cages, and there's a lot of dogs that are excited. I wasn't sure, if they just wanted to hug me or what, or they're just happy to see someone and wanting to be adopted, but just kept saying no, no, no. And we get to the final last cage in our tour, and back in the corner, we almost missed her, was this little lump of fur. And my wife and daughters had walked out of the facility hallway there, and I said, hey, wait a minute, what about this one? And so just to appease them, of course, I had no interest in adopting a dog. So just to appease them. So sure enough, we arranged a meet and greet, but there was already a waiting list. Phew. But that's all right. We'll just look through the glass and watch as this dog is supposedly supposed to be bonding with the potential pet parent. But she kept coming over to us. And my wife says, honey, that's a sign right there. I said, no, I think she just knows we have treats. Still, again, it's not going to happen. Thankfully, I thought there's a waiting list, so there's no way I'm going to end up having to get a dog. So as we head home, and my wife says, honey, we always pray about everything. So you need to pray about this. Oh, okay, sure. I'll say a prayer, if it's meant to be. And I did. But if I'm truthfully honest with you, over the long weekend, there were moments that this precious little fur baby came to top of mind. And I would just sort of dismiss it. All right, I'll say a little prayer. But again, it's not going to happen. Well, I get that call on Monday morning. Mr. Spencer, she's all yours. There must be some kind of mistake here. Surely you have me confused with somebody else. Nope. The other pet parents felt like it wasn't a good fit, and so come on down. So reluctantly, I go down with my wife to the Humane Society. We agreed not to tell the kids because we didn't want them to get their hopes built up, just in case, something happened. And we get in there, and I'm trying to think of, Anki, I'm trying to think of every excuse I can think of to not get a dog. And the lady says those other magic words, she's half price. And my wife, knowing that I'm OCD about coupons, said, now, honey, how do you say no to a half price dog, right? So moments later, there's this really awkward picture as they're carrying, as I say, this little lump of fur out, and they hand her to me, kind of like you hand a baby to someone, a newborn baby who's never held a baby before. There's this really awkward picture where the dog's looking at me and I'm looking at it, and we're not really sure what's going on. And she can hear my thoughts. I don't want a dog. And so I'm kind of awkwardly carrying her because she's too frail and too scared to walk on her own. And here's a true story. We're walking out the door, across the parking lot, out of the Humane Society, heading towards the vehicle. And I'm saying out loud, to the dismay of all the people around me, I don't want a dog. I don't want a dog. And I'm saying it louder and louder. And then it happened. I looked down, I see her precious little eyes. I was getting emotional here. And I said, I love you, and I'm going to take care of you. And I kissed her head.
Oh.
And my wife had said, did you just tell the dog you loved it? Did you just kiss her? Like what just happened? Like, what in the world? It literally felt like an out-of-body experience. It literally was Hazelnut, as we've affectionately named her, literally touched my soul. And I mean that so genuinely. And anybody who knows me, 4 or 5 years ago, this is the furthest that I would be starting a charity that helps pets, especially dogs, is the furthest thing from my mind. And yet, in that moment, this precious furry blessing literally changed the heart of this crusty guy. And today, not only do I love her, but I can't walk past a pet without wanting to talk to it. And we've since adopted a second dog. And then Hazelnut inspired this incredible charity, which I'll talk to you more about. But that's the true story of how we got here.
I love that. I love that. So that's so funny though. And I do actually, especially, I had a similar experience with this one, the second dog that came to me in this like, well, I hadn't planned to get a second dog. I have a dog, like I can't, I don't, and I was literally I had a moment like that. So I kind of totally get it because he was like tiny and like and he just looked at me and it was like literally that's why kind of the
Yep.
name also, this
Yep.
you kind of like this isn't a rational kind of thing. They touch the soul just right in there,
I
and
do.
it's beautiful. It's just yeah. So Hazelnut's still around, like
She is. She is.
so she
Hazelnut.
was like, how old is she? Because when you say like she was frail, was she just because she was like neglected and kind of scared, or is she older?
Sure. Well, we think she was, of course, with the Humane Society, you don't always know the history of all the dogs and their ages. They estimate that she was about a year old.
Oh, so a
Her
really young dog still.
So very young, very frail. She's gained about 40 pounds, actually about 50 pounds. 10 of those are a little bit too much. Lots of treats. But she's gone from this very frail and scared dog to the most happy, loving, I'll say the perfect dog. She's just amazing. And so when I learned about her background, that her first family had to forfeit her because they couldn't afford her life-saving care. Thankfully, the veterinarian proceeded to save her life. We know, as you know, two-thirds of pets that are euthanized just because of a lack of finances. So Hazelnut truly was a miracle. She was one of the lucky few that actually got the care that she needed. And then they donated her to the Humane Society in hopes that she would get adopted. And so my background is I've been a fundraising executive for 20 some years for all kinds of worthy causes. And so I was just stunned. I didn't know the pet industry very well. And truthfully, my cat was pretty self-sufficient. There wasn't a lot of needs there. One surgery early on and annual visits, but that was about it. And so I just had no idea the hardship and the crisis that's out there around access to care and those financial barriers. And so I thought for sure there's got to be a program out there. And we've heard of GoFundMe, and there's 2,000 literally crowdfunding platforms out there, but they're all for profit. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, well, if the greatest fundraising vehicle in the world is crowdfunding, shouldn't that be run by nonprofit, by fundraising executives, and not just, people motivated by check transactions, but motivated by mission. And so it took 2 years, but we created the first ever charity owned and operated crowdfunding platform where anybody can come to our website for free. They can fundraise for any pet need, as well as any pet related or animal related cause that they care about. And so I'll just say this, that literally, truly, Hazelnut not only saved my heart and rescued me, and she truly did rescue me, she's also inspired help for pets all across the country, which is amazing.
That's fascinating. I mean, I didn't realize how many pets were euthanized because of that. I literally saw something the other day where somebody talked, like, was a video on Instagram or something, where somebody was talking about this whole situation where vet clinics get more and more bought out, and then all of a sudden like prices go through the roof. And I think, over there, like prices are ridiculous to start with. And so apparently
Yeah.
it's kind of as like the smaller clinics get bought out and taken over by these big companies, it gets worse and worse. And so I think it's a problem that seems to be on the rise, that people can't afford the care. And I've had clients where they've said, oh well, my dog needed something minor. It's like, okay, what's like some ridiculous amount, and yeah, the insurance, but no, you have to fork it out first, and
Yep.
then you can start fighting to see whether we'll pay you something. So
Mhm.
so I think there's so much of a need for that.
There is. In the past, since 2014, so in the past 10, 11 years, the cost of pet care has risen 60%, which is incredible. It's really, really unsustainable if you look at those numbers. And we know that 50 million pets in America today lack adequate care, access to adequate care. So just literally the basic care for your pet, your annual pet visits, food, and so on, annual vaccines. 50 million pets, which
Wow.
is a lot. So it's a crisis that we have to get ahead of. And I really think our program being so innovative, you mentioned something really important there. You said a lot of folks, when a crisis happens for their pet, they triage it by sending whatever methods they can to pay that bill up front, whether it's a credit card or scratch pay. And then oftentimes, regardless of how the pet fares after that, the pet parent is now carrying this heavy burden, this heavy debt. And even if that pet does well, what if that pet needs future care? If you're a pet parent that's already maxed out your resources, what do you do? And so one of the things that's unique about philanthropy is that you can fundraise for future expenses, present expenses, or past expenses. And so you can raise those funds and get reimbursed for the money that you've already spent.
Oh, okay. So like what's the model? So I mean,
Mhm.
who goes there? Is it people who go, well, I can't afford, I want to give that pet a home, but I can't afford those ridiculous vet bills? And who are typically the people who donate? Are that like, is that companies, or is that private people, or who's doing the donating?
Short answer is yes, all of the above. What we've seen in the past 18, 20, 24 months, about 2 years now, I guess it's been 2 years since we first opened our website. We've helped 175 pets, and we've distributed just over today, literally today, I just did the numbers. We just reached, I wanted to see if we could reach that $100,000 mark, and we did, which is really exciting to think that our donors have contributed not only for our operating costs, which is very slim, but also they've contributed in all these fundraisers and then direct gifts to philanthropy, just over $100,000 in preventing the suffering of pets. And so it's everybody involved. It's the veterinarian who's maybe having that conversation with a pet parent. What do we do? And they're recommending philanthropy. They can create the fundraising campaign on their behalf, or it's the pet parent coming to the veterinarian and saying, "Hey, just so you know, this is how I plan to pay this bill." You're going to hear from philanthropy. They're going to be calling because that's one of the unique things. That's why donors love this model. There's so much
Oh,
fraud and so much
that's the
scams out
problem, right?
there,
Yeah.
and so that was one of the things that really drove this whole idea. Because as a fundraising professional, it really bothers me when I see people who give from the kindness of their heart. We know giving is never not personal, whether it's $1 or $1 million. And so to see that gift not go where it's supposed to go is gut wrenching. So we changed that. We solved that. So every single fundraiser that's created, we call the veterinarian and we verify this is a real pet. This is a real expense. And when the money's raised, we send it directly to wherever that need is located. So
Oh,
that then encouraged the veterinarians to say, you know what? I think we'll contribute to this because they know ultimately those funds are going to come to them. Because there's a lot of situations where, the veterinarian will take an IOU or they'll discount services. Maybe tragically the pet passes away, or for whatever reason the pet parent just says, you know what, I'm not going to pay you. And then the veterinarian is stuck holding that burden. And sadly, I did not know this when I began philanthropy. Sadly, veterinary professionals have one of the highest suicide rates of any profession, which is just daunting. In fact, someone used our platform to raise $5,000 for a charity that helps veterinary professionals with mental health issues. So it's such a special and important niche in here in this whole process of helping not just prevent the suffering of animals, but to reduce that financial burden so that the veterinary professional isn't carrying it, but then also the pet parent doesn't have to carry it. So if they can have that veterinary expense paid for, they're more likely to proceed with future expenses as well. But again, every fundraiser is verified. Funds are sent directly to the need. And what also makes us really unique is that we are a 501c3 registered charity. So unlike GoFundMe and the other 2,000 for-profit companies, because we're a nonprofit, every single donation that you make is tax deductible eligible. And so we know with the new tax laws next year, every person, every individual who has to pay taxes can file up to $1,000 in charitable giving or 2,000 as a household. And so it's going to benefit everybody, financially who donates. But it's you ask who gives, it's the folks who just have a heart for what we're doing and believe in what we're doing, and they value those unique distinctives, that making sure that it's secure and it's verifiable.
That's fascinating because I see it a lot, and like here in Spain where I'm, like rescues. That's usually, I was you know usually run by a couple of girls with no jobs and scraping by, and they constantly, here's my PayPal link, right? And then next thing you know, it's like other people write on the back of that, and then they will just kind of post photos of dogs in misery and put their, and then they finance their holidays with it or whatever they do, right? But it's like, I think that making sure that really goes to the right place, I think that builds a lot of trust.
It
That
does. It
that makes
does.
so much sense.
And I was gonna say, in addition to that, financially, what makes that really special and unique for the donor as well, if you look at crowdfunding globally in general, because again, it's housed by for-profit companies, you're limited into the kinds of gifts that you can give to a GoFundMe or another platform like that. You can only give from your bank account, or I guess you could give from your credit card, but most people don't go into debt for charity, so it's literally your bank account. Well, what makes it unique, what Furlanthropy affords individuals, is the opportunity to give any non-cash asset towards that
Oh,
campaign. So literally, our brand new website that I'm excited to announce is coming this month. And on there, you'll be able to click on any pet's fundraiser, any individual's fundraiser, and you can click a button. You can give Cash App or Venmo or Apple Pay, but you can also click a button and donate stock gifts directly to that fundraiser. You can click a button and donate from your donor advised fund directly to that fundraiser. It's never been done before. And so what we're going to see over the course of the next couple months and years is the average crowdfunding gift is going to go from $10, $20. It's going to skyrocket because now people can give from other buckets of funding than just what they have in the bank.
wow, that's fascinating. I mean, see, I'm like, now that we've got a professional in the room here, I'm really curious, because I've seen, like people on Facebook as, oh, like GoFundMe and all of these for various kind of causes. And what I've noticed that there's some that do really well, right? You come in there and they tell the story and people seem to be donating a lot, right? And others don't, right? So if you were to give a tip for somebody creating a campaign like that, what should they be taken into account, or what should they think about how will you present your case so that people feel it's worth donating to?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I mean this genuinely, not just because I started philanthropy, but truly, if you have a need, come to philanthropy. For all the reasons I just mentioned, you're going to have a greater chance of raising greater amounts of money because there's more buckets that we can pull from. So that in of itself, I mean, you can try those other, and those other platforms do good work. But donors will, if you give donors an option of more ways for them to give and more types of gifts to give, then naturally you're going to get greater gifts. And for folks who need that charitable tax deduction, going through philanthropy, you provide that for them. So you're going to get larger sizes of gifts. And one of the unique things about our platform is with the AI technology and the robust features behind this, the second you click start on your fundraiser, not only is it shared on our website, it's immediately shared on Facebook. So you have two fundraisers simultaneously. They're both related to each other, but you have really two things pushing that need. And with that, it's a really user-friendly platform. So it only takes a few minutes, but there's an opportunity there to show videos. I can tell you just in the past 2 years, the individuals who have done the most successful in their fundraising, it's the images. Because when
Mm.
you grab someone's heart, you touch someone's soul, it changes everything. And so describing where the need is, but why is that? Why is your pet so special to you? Why is that furry family member so important to you? And sharing as many videos and as many pictures as you can. And again, the advantage of philanthropy is the donor knowing, you know what, this is real. I don't even have to question it. It's been verified. This person's real. This pet is real. This expense is real. And if I give all these wonderful ways that actually benefit me as a donor, but if I give, it's actually going to go directly to the need. And so those are all powerful things that have not traditionally existed. So we're really upending that traditional model of crowdfunding.
I mean, I love that you kind of sent this straight over to Facebook because that's also the next question, right? I mean, I see it more mostly like in the online business kind of space when people want to promote something and then, well, if you don't have an audience, like you're kind of stuck, right? Because if you don't normally, or if you're not normally active on social media, right, you can post whatever you want, nobody's going to see it, nobody's going to care, right? So, and most people, and say if you're in the business space and like, well, that's part of your job to build that audience, right? But if
Mhm.
I'm having my pet and I'm just doing my life with my pet and now I have a need, I don't necessarily have an audience, right? So how do you suggest or how can you help people actually reach potential donors?
Sure. Well, let me start by saying on that platform, there's a place where you can email your. I was just talking to someone yesterday who I was shocked, and she said, I only have 3 Facebook friends. And she's very personable and knows a lot of people, but she has other connections in other ways. And so she's able to take a copy, that link, and put that in an email. She's also able to download, you're able to download your fundraiser and just having those conversations. We get these questions all the time, can you please help me? I'll do anything to help my pet. Oh, I can't fundraise though. But wait a minute. You just said you'd do anything to help your pet. So I think there's that stigma, a little bit of fear. I don't want to ask anybody for help. But here's the secret, what I've learned in 20 years of fundraising. It's not about the ask, it's about the donor and their heart. And so when people give, the reason why donors give is to ultimately fulfill something that's already in their heart. Charities think it's their mission or their cause, but it really starts there. They're not going to give if they don't believe that your pet is real and that it's a real need, but it starts with fulfilling the why in their heart. And so that individual who says, I'm going to give, I don't know you, but I saw your fundraiser on the Furlanthropy website, and I just lost my dog and I want to give in memory of my dog. Or I'm not allowed to have dogs anymore. I can't take care of them, but I love them enough that I want to support. And so what you are providing is an opportunity for people to be a blessing in supporting your fundraiser. And if I had a dollar for every time someone said, thank you for letting me make this gift. Recently,
Oh,
someone gave $100,000 to another cause that I help, and they cried. They said, thank you for letting me give this gift. And so sure, you can do it tomorrow again if you want. No, but literally, like, right? But that's the heartbeat behind the
that's
donor. And so
true.
it's not as hard and complicated and scary as we make it to be. You're just connecting your story with donors' hearts. And so you have a lot of people and you can call. And by the way, they can give, they don't have to give online. So if you have a conversation with your neighbor and they say, we'd like to help, but maybe your neighbor wants to be anonymous, they can still send a check in the mail to philanthropy. They can send a donor advised fund gift or a stock gift to us offline, and then we can apply that amount to your fundraiser. And so you do know a lot of people, even if you're someone who's not on Facebook. I promise you, there are people in your orbit who would help if you just invited them. And then in addition to that, we as philanthropists, we're still young, we're still growing, but we have a following. We have folks who just give us money and say, you know what, we don't care what cat you help or what dog, we just want you to help. And so we do contribute to our clients to fundraisers campaigns. We can't contribute to all of them, obviously, but we do encourage. And the other thing I would just say real quickly is tell your veterinarian what you're doing. Invite them to give. And because if your veterinarian, I mentioned this earlier, if your veterinarian knows that number one, they're going to see those funds back, and number two, they get a charitable tax deduction, that's a win-win,
Yeah.
right? I mean, if your veterinarian gave to the local humane society or local charity, they're going to get a recognition and a tax receipt. But if they give to philanthropy, they're going to get recognition, a tax receipt, and
Great.
that, right? So it's a win-win for everybody. And so I think there's a lot of distinctives that will really help. And here's one more thing. We We distribute funds every single Friday. And if it's an emergency situation within 48 hours. So we don't wait until your 30 days or wait until your campaign reaches 100% of its goal. We want to get those funds out of our hands that have been raised directly to the need as quick as possible. So pet parents appreciate that. Veterinarians appreciate that. So it's getting those funds as quick as possible. Majority of our fundraisers to date haven't reached 100% of their goal. That's going to change with this new platform. It's going to double. But what I have found is even the fundraisers that raised 75, 80% of their goal is life changing. And it's not always the $10,000 expense. We just had a conversation with a precious senior saint recently who is battling cancer. And she said, I need to raise $300 for medicine for my dog. My dog is battling cancer. She says, I just can't imagine spending my remaining days without my precious fur baby. So in that situation, I said, don't worry about the fundraiser. We're gonna just gonna pay for it. But it's sometimes that barrier is
Yeah.
only a few $100s. Now that might not be a lot to some people, but for a lot of people, that's a huge barrier. And so it doesn't take a lot of dollars to make a transformational difference.
Wow. I mean, I think sounds like quite emotional. Like, you gotta probably have your sort of, like heart on your sleeve all day long, right? So,
It really is. It really is.
yeah. I mean, and so like, I'm also curious. So you're basically okay. It's a non-profit, but you guys have expenses as well. So they will always be also. I always wonder, like, how do non-profits make money? Like, they kind of need to keep the lights on, right? So how does that work?
Well, we raise money specifically for our operating costs. I can tell you, I don't get paid. We have no employees. We have a lot of volunteers, a couple contractual people, just to make sure that we're doing things as professionally as possible. But we run a very slim operating budget. Sometimes you look up a charity and you'll find out their CEO is making tons of money. Or I got a phone call the other day. Someone wanted me to donate to a cause that I thought was wonderful until they said only 10% of my gift was going to go to help that cause. Always do your homework and see if it's more than 10, maybe 20. My wife and I, we don't give to any organization that gleans more than 20% for operating costs. For us, we glean 10% of every donation to reserve that to not only help fund our operations, to have a robust online program and all the legal things that come with running a charity and fundraising across the country, but also to be able to be in a position to help other fundraisers that are less popular. And so we rely on a lot of unrestricted gifts. I can share with you that PetSmart Charities gave us a $204,000 grant, which was incredible. And that was a huge shot in the arm for this young charity a year ago that nobody knew about. And they said, you know what? You guys are doing such innovative things. We think you're going to make such a huge impact that we want to get behind this from the start. And so that was a great, not just their support, but having their endorsement was awesome. So yes, if there are individuals watching that want to make a donation to help us, it literally goes towards our mission of preventing the suffering of pets.
I love that. I love that. So you were mentioning vets. So if somebody goes, well, my dog has kind of had an accident and needs like, I don't know, like massage or cryotherapy or like, chiropractic section, would that also be included or is it strictly vets?
No, any animal related cause, and it doesn't have to be urgent or emergency related. It could be we had and right here in our hometown, we had an individual who just needed arthritis medicine for her pet. And it was just a couple $100. So it doesn't have to necessarily be emergency or life-threatening. And it doesn't have to be just for pets, for cats and dogs. It can be for any pet. It could be for equine needs. You see a picture of a horse behind me. It could be for boarding fees. It could be for food. It could be for disaster relief. We had an individual who lost everything in a home fire, and several national and local charities showed up and provided financial assistance for the family, but nothing for the pets. And
Mm,
which is often the case in those darkest hours. The pets are often the least to be the last to be helped. And so we raised $500. We started a philanthropy fundraiser. We raised $500, and she just cried. She said the thought of after losing everything, the thought of being separated from my pets just because I couldn't afford to feed them was heartbreaking for me and my kids. And having them with us, our furry family members, keeping our families together, meant so much in helping us on our road to recovery. And so it was just $500. But so it can be used for that. It can be used if you want to do a fundraiser for your favorite charity. It could be local or national, any animal related cause.
I love that. I love that. So where can people go and check it out and go to the brand new website and find out more about you?
Furlanthropy.org, just like it sounds, Furlanthropy, furlanthropy.org.
I love that. Well, thank you so much. Was really eye-opening and fascinating, and it's such beautiful work because I've seen, I heard cases where it's like, okay, yeah, don't have the money to pay for this, and the heartbreak is I don't even want to think about, having to let my dogs like suffer or having to lose them because I can't, because of the money. So it's just beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing that, and I really hope, and I have no doubts really, that you'll be doing spectacularly well. So thank you.
Thank you, Anka. Appreciate you so much. Thank you for your kindness and thank you for what you do. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review so other dog lovers can find the show. If you haven't already, head over to soultouchedbydogs.com and sign up for weekly doggy cuteness, tips, recommendations, and personal stories to warm your dog-loving heart. And if you know a awesome human you think I should interview, I'd love an introduction. Email me at Anke, that's ANKE, @soultouchedbydogs.com.